Hello, welcome back. It's Gone Solo Troika. I am, of course, your host and storyteller, Royce Rosewood. I think we're at episode 11 now, which is so fun. Thanks for everyone who's been following along. It's fun to share the journey. So, a couple of housekeeping things before we head in. In our last episode, we ran into Pointage, who was originally a player character, and then I sort of let go do his own thing, but is now back. So I've made a couple of modifications since he's acquired the Pixie Acid Potion. He now has an Acid Breath weapon, which I rolled up some random damage for using my random method. And I also gave him an advanced skill of flying. So there's where he's at. I came up with some rules for the growth mushrooms, which we haven't used yet. I'm just going to assume that they work as we've predicted, that they do grow you to a large size. Here are the mechanical changes. You do damage as a large beast. It will double your stamina. And then the drawbacks are it only lasts for an hour. You can't interact with small objects. So if you've got a weapon, right, you're now too large to use it. And then any fumbles while you are under the influence of the magic mushroom count as oops, rolling on the oops table. So thanks to Thriftomancer in the Melsonia Discord for helping me bounce some ideas back and forth. Also, we do have some more fan art, so to speak. My 4-year-old child drew this picture of the Frostbug after watching the last episode of the Frostbug. I was inspired to draw this, so I just wanted to share that with you all. In our last episode, Dragogg and Goldbone were heading back from the ruins of Diaprise after their ghost experience, right, from which they acquired the mushrooms. They ran into the library, which they had stopped at on the way out, but found that the librarian had been eaten by an Alzabo, but instead of being consumed, they had a protective spell that allowed them to take control of the Alzabo's consciousness. So now the librarian's consciousness is trapped inside the Alzabo's body, and they were trying to adjust to that. But the librarian revealed that they are the keeper of the lost library of Diaprise, which Dragogg had been looking for when they were in the past. And so if they can seek revenge for the citizens of Diaprise against Grinshout, whoever that is, they will be able to get access to the library. So that's cool. So they decided to head to God's Reign, because if they were going to be hunting wizards, if they were going to be hunting down this Grinshout, they needed a wizard hunter. When they had ran into Pointage, he had revealed that he was going to go to God's Reign to find his wizard hunter friend. So they thought, well, this is their only lead. They're heading to God's Reign. On the way, they met Circa, the blacksmith, who was on trial for defective shovel making. And she left the town and joined them with her mobile magic blacksmith forge that she could pull along. When they got to God's Reign, Orgopush's experiments have advanced. So not only has the frost advanced, but also he's sort of turning the whole tree into the whole experiment, some kind of receptor, or who knows what he's doing, but he's using the whole tree for this experiment, for what he's trying to do. It was also revealed that Dragogg is from God's Reign, so now there is a personal aspect to this quest to defend God's Reign from the Frostbug. In the meantime, they shared the information that they learned about Pointage from the past. Oh, because they ran into Pointage, right? He was there. They rescued him from a cocoon. Pointage joined the party. They shared the information that they had learned in the past, and Pointage is coming around realizing that he was not made defective. In fact, it was the things that was happening. It was the robot attack on Diaprise, and he was there when he was very young. That sort of imprinted on him and gave him this thirst, this need for destruction. So he's sort of working through that and kind of working against that. And also his interactions with Magnaza has changed him. And then also Circa revealed that she is a robot in disguise. And then also we learned that Goldbone is an orphan and was raised by the Guild of Sharp Corners. And she, now that she's out in the field, thinks that maybe being an assassin is not for her. She is much too empathetic. Anyway, lots have happened. So, and in addition, one last thing that I've been thinking about, that I realized as I was watching through some other episodes, I had sort of thought of the ghost experience, the sort of the ghost dream as sort of a contained thing. But I realized last episode, the rope that Goldbone used to get up to rescue the cocoon, she had acquired in Diaprise. So they actually have retained evidence of this ghost vision, which sort of changed the way I thought about what had actually happened. So anyway, they have this ghost past rope. So my mistake, but mistakes are just opportunities. So that might come up, the fact that this rope is actually from a ghost vision. So anyway, that's enough. There was a lot to ground, so let's just get into it. Let's go. So based on the timing, they had to camp up on the trunk on their way into God's Reign. And so now it's morning and they're ready to head up and finish that journey up. So their intention for this scene is to head in to God's Reign and see what's going on there. So what happens on our events table to sort of impact our way into God's Reign? We're going to roll on our thread table. 13. Dragogg seeks the sphere of the gods. Okay, and we know Dragogg is from God's Reign. Our party packs up all their things. They head up the trunk and into God's Reign. Now, they don't know this, but we, the audience, because we've seen God's Reign before, can tell that this frost has really spread. It's like now covering half the village. Almost everyone in the village that we see is covered in this frost plague. It's really slowing down. You know, there are still a few, healthy, unfrozen people. There's just sort of the sense of dread and sort of creeping the slowness, that everything is just slowing down and it's cold. And there's like a bitter icy wind that sometimes blasts through the village, down the trunks where all the houses are sort of stacked up along these large branches. Dragogg takes it all in and he said, it has been a long time since I have been back home. I left when I was young and I have not returned. I thought this place was too small for me, and I abandoned it. I turned my back in search of larger, more lofty goals, or so I thought. But now to see my old home plagued in this way, it breaks my heart. He would have known Dozence, the leader who he established, this former Golden Barge pilot, who is now the leader of this village. Is she frozen over? Has she been taken by the plague? No, absolutely not. She seems perfectly healthy. Is she happy to see Dragogg? No, absolutely not. So they sort of approach the plaza, which is sort of half frozen over, and there's the fountain in the middle that is also kind of partially frozen over. And Dozence, this sort of gruff, wizened, scarred, older woman with beat up, worn captain's jacket, kind of comes marching across the plaza and goes right up to Dragogg and just slaps him across the face. And Dragogg says, well, that's not really the kind of homecoming I would have wanted, but here we are. I suppose I deserve that. And It doesn't. Says, where were you all this time? Your home, your people needed you, and you left. You abandoned them to go chase your wild dream that there's a sphere of the gods. I've been out in the spheres. I've seen dozens, hundreds of the spheres, and I never saw anything that led me to believe that there was such a place as a sphere of the gods. But you had to go chase your wild dream and abandoned your home. And look at where we are now. We need minds like you. We need people like you. But everybody just leaves. And now, look where we are. I made my peace. I didn't want to fight this frostbug, this wizard that's behind it. But I don't know. Now we're just out of options. So you showed up a little bit too late. Dragogg, still wincing from the slap, says, I'm sorry that I could not have assisted you in your hours of need, but I am here now. And not only am I willing to defend our home against this threat, we are on the lookout for other things. And they sort of explain who they're looking for. And well, Pointage already has sort of investigated, and they know that Magnaza, the wizard hunter friend, and T-Gem, had gone off into the Lair and gone missing. And so Dozen says, well, do whatever you have to do. I'm almost ready to evacuate this place. I don't know if we can stay here any longer. I don't know what Ogre Push is up to. But we can't live here any longer. Doringer, you remember the salamander tamer, who the first party got the salamanders from to protect them from the heat, comes, and remember, he was frozen over. Sort of approaches and says, if you're going to go into the frost lair, please, if you find my salamanders, please return them. They never returned, and I just want to know that they're okay. I'm afraid that they're lost and scared, so if you see them in there, please help me and help them return. And Goldbone says, of course, anything we can do. We're here to help. Pointage has already been in once before, we established, and he got intercepted by Ogre Push and captured. So they're going to need a plan, right? They've got their growth mushrooms, we've established, so that's something in their corner. They are going to be looking out to rescue Pointage's friends and this wizard hunter, because they need a wizard hunter to do the other thing. It seems to me that with Goldbone's poison skill, that she may be able to craft sort of a reverse poison, sort of a healing potion. So let's test if she's able to do that. She needs to roll under 6. She rolled 6. Great. They're going to need something to protect them from the cold. And I don't think Doringer's going to let them use any more salamanders. And besides, we already did that. Well, let's do something different. But I'm wondering if they might be able to make some like jackets out of leaves. There's someone in the village who can make them for them. Is there sort of a cost or complication? We've already got so much going on. I think I'll just go ahead. And there's a villager in town who's able to sort of stitch together some, who's been doing this for the other villagers, right, to try to protect. And I wonder, they've got this mobile forge, and Pointage has metalworking. We'll just see. We'll just test Pointage's metalworking to see if he's able to make something useful, and then we'll decide what it is. Yes, he is able to make something useful. He's able to modify Goldbone's sword to ignore 1 point of armor. Is Circa going to go with them? Is she interested? She doesn't really have any investment in this place other than trying to set up a new shop, but we got a yes. So yes, she is going to go with them for her own purposes. So I'll just have to roll up some stats for her real quick. All right, so I rolled up some stats for Circa. She's not super great, but she does have a shield, which is what I rolled up for her. So she's going to leave her cart here. I don't think her pack animal in the cart is going to be able to get through all the ups and downs of the Frost Lair. All right, so we are going to head into the Frost Lairs. Now, last time I sort of had a chart, and I've got something similar, but I've modified it. And I'm also sort of deciding that with the sort of changing frost and the shifting ice, that the shape of the lair has been totally transformed. So the things that we explored and where they were before, that's all been reset. So we're going to be encountering maybe some of the similar things, because I made a list of things to expect, but we might be encountering them in sort of a different order than we expect. So we will just jump right in. So that's a new scene. Let's see what comes to bear, if anything, on this, our second exploration into the Frost Lair. A local event. Okay. We've got a handshake. We've got some thumbs up. So maybe the able-bodied villagers offer to join them. They have sort of seen how things are just getting out of control, and that Dozens's strategy has not been working, and so they offer to help. So let's say like a 1d6. 6! Okay. Wow. We are much better prepared than last time. All right, so these villagers come along. I've rolled up some stats for them, and the weapon that they all have pistolets, which are sort of the equivalent of firearms. Here is the party. We have Dragogg, our mathemologist, not really a fighter, but can do some things. We've got Goldbone, our assassin. We've got Pointage, our acid-breathing flying dwarf. We've got Circa, our robot. And we've got 6 villagers who have volunteered to help. So, here we go. In we go. So, what is the first thing that we encounter? Let's roll on our little table here. 16. Okay. The frost has come much further forward, right? So there's whole sections, maybe whole neighborhoods that have been frozen over. But there's still like a main branch that heads out and is sort of arched over with this entrance into the Frost Lair. So they all head in, and the first thing in the first area that they encounter is all this evidence of Ogre Push's experiments. So just like we saw along the trunk, there's little kind of whirring machines, and there's little bubbling potions, and strange things in jars, and they're all sort of connected with these wires. Do they want to destroy them? I think maybe they're a little too cautious, since they don't know what they do and they don't want to mess with anything. They don't know, if destroying this, if it's going to do more harm than good. So they just sort of observe. Dragogg has already examined it. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. He didn't know what was going on. And so I don't think anyone else would either. So they're just going to keep moving forward. What do we got? What's in this next area? 23. An obstacle is blocking the way. So we're going to say that the tunnel of ice sort of heads in this direction, and now they've come to a part where another kind of intersecting branch has like cracked or fallen into the path and is now frozen over and is blocking the path. So they're going to need to figure out a way to get past it. Well, it's a pretty large branch. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and Dragogg is going to give Pointage one of the growing mushrooms. Goldbone and Dragogg picked a large quantity of these mushrooms, but I assume they have at least 3. So he is going to go ahead and give one to Pointage, who is the strongest. Strength is the kind of skill that I would imagine he would retain, but he's not going to be able to use any of his other items. So Pointage is going to eat one of those mushrooms and is going to grow to large size. So he kind of nibbles on it, and they all kind of stand back. And this little, grubby, kind of rocky dwarf with these pixie wings starts to shake and glow with this magical energy, and he goes doom 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 doom, and he grows, and now he's very big. Now he's going to try to smash his way through this obstacle now that he is huge. Yes, he is able to just punch through. Okay, but this effect only lasts for an hour. So let's sort of say that every room takes what? I guess we'll kind of say, but maybe between 10 and 15 minutes. So he's got maybe between 4 and 6 rooms to go. So we'll get at least 3, and then maybe we can kind of roll. We'll see what we run into. Okay, so they've smashed through the obstacle. What do they encounter next? 26. The lost salamanders. Oh, so sweet. Okay, so coming along, they break through the the large barrier, and just on the other side, sort of huddled up, right up next to it, are the 2 missing salamanders. They were able to escape, and they're huddled up right there. You can see evidence of claw marks in the ice where they were trying to get through, and there's sort of a little pocket that sort of melted out around them. It sort of formed this little melted out, but then frozen over again cave, and they're just huddling together. So they collect them. Let's say, Pointage is too large. He's kind of crawling behind. I say crawling. Yeah, he has to crawl through the tunnel. But both Goldbone and Dragogg take one of the leashes of the salamanders, and now they have that extra source of warmth besides the warm leaf clothes. All right. Well, let's keep going. All right. 22. They find some treasure. Okay. Remember, T-Jim had promised all those episodes ago to Magnaza to try to get her to come along that there was treasure frozen over in this place. So what is the nature of this treasure? Oh, we got a galaxy. Bump, invisible. Bubbles, maybe. So maybe there are just these, perfectly spherical bubbles. They look like glass, but they're much stronger, and they've got swirling galaxies inside. How many of them are there? Okay, there's 3 of them. Okay, and they just are real shiny and real pretty, and I don't know if they have any properties, but they sure look nice. I think Dragogg is gonna pick them up, and even if they don't have magical properties, presumably they're worth quite a bit. We don't know if this is part of Ogre Push's experiment or if there's something that he needs them for, but anyway, he's got them. So, all right, they found some treasure. All right, well, so far so good. All right, let's keep going. 13. Okay, they keep going along. The paths are twisting and turning. And they come to a place that's like much larger or open, or maybe it was at one point, and now it's sort of like somewhat more frozen over on one side. Anyway, and there's, big evidences of, big, large blasts of ice. And frozen over, up along the wall, and sort of, these sort of frozen over tombs or niches, they see Magnaza and Tijim frozen over. Okay. And Pointage runs up and sees, he doesn't recognize Tijim, but he recognizes Magnaza, this wizard hunter that he used to work with. And he says, there she is. We found her. There's your wizard hunter. And there's sort of a somber moment. And Dragogg, he's from God's Reign. Tijim's from God's Reign. Dragogg knows Tijim, recognizes Tijim. And Dragogg says, Tijim, I remember him as well. What a loss. I'm sorry, Pointage, that your friend, to find your friend in this state. Pointage kind of nods grimly. But then one of the villagers speaks up and says, well, don't despair. These two found many members of our village in this same state, frozen over. And they were able to melt the ice and free them. In fact, right, Gregor over here, you were frozen over and you got rescued too, and you were just fine, right? And Gregor says, well, took me a little bit to get back to fighting fit, but yes, but they rescued me. The ice preserves. So, friends, we've established the frostbug freezes people over, puts them up on the wall, and they're retrievable, and preserves them. So, I think that's what's happened. I think we have an opportunity here to rescue Magnaza and Tijim. They're not going to be in great shape, but they're there. They're back. So they bring the salamanders up, and the salamanders, melt off, and Magnaza stumbles forward, and Goldbone gives her the potion that she made, the healing potion, right? So that's we'll say it does D6. Okay, so she's back up at 6 stamina. Great, and they do the same for Tijim. So he's now at 5. So they're both sort of a little dazed, a little confused, a little unsure, but Goldbone drips some of the potion into each of their mouths. And eventually they sort of come back, they resuscitate, they sort of gain their awareness, they put the heat of the salamanders next to them to keep them warm. And Magnaza looks around and says, Pointage, what are you doing here? Pointage says, and Pointage is massive, remember? Pointage is still very huge. And why are you huge? And Pointage looks down and says, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, these are our companions, and she looks around, and there's this mathemologist, and there's this little assassin, and there's this robot blacksmith. She doesn't maybe know she's a robot, and there's all these villagers, and teaching them, and they're all here, and they've been rescued, and Tijum sort of coughs. Oh, Dragogg, I never thought I'd see you again. This is a very strange reunion. And Dragogg says, well, you're telling me. All right, and friends, we've done it. We've got our wizard hunter friend. We've rescued her. She's gonna be back in the game. We got Tijum. We rescued him. We're here. We've got this massive party. All right, and we've got so many reasons to go find this frostbug, slay this frostbug, go find Ogre Push, slay Ogre Push, and we are gonna go do those things. Well, we don't know how it's gonna turn out, but it's looking pretty good. We got a massive party, and in Pointage's case, literally massive. But we are going to stop it there. So thank you so much for following along. I knew we were going to get these threads back together, and I hoped we would. Things came out in our list, and oh my goodness, it's all coming together, folks. This is so exciting. So stick around. If you've been enjoying this, please like and subscribe. That lets me know that you want to see more of these, and I can put more time into them. Share with a friend if you're enjoying this. Find your other weird friend and share with them. Let them know that this has been going on. So until next time, this is Science Fantasy Awesome, but you are awesome.